Most men today are completely invisible. Despite working hard, despite you being smart and intelligent and being ambitious, you're forgotten in rooms. You're not respected when you walk in or in your relationships that you have. You're ambitious, but your paycheck doesn't really reflect that. But your life doesn't have to be this way. You can change. And my favorite story of this is Napoleon and how he rose to power. If you know the story, he was born on Corsica. He was short, although not that short, but he was short. He had a very heavy Corsican accent that made people bully him when he went to school in France. He came from a very poor family as well, so that didn't help. He was heavily bullied. He was very alone. And he should have been invisible. He should have been forgotten, not written about in the history books. But there was something about him, something that he developed over time that made him the figure that we now know him as, making him the greatest general of all time. And it wasn't his smartness, his wits, or his intelligence, or hard work, although those were definitely traits of his. But there are many people who are smart and intelligent in this world. And you probably know some very stupid people as well that are making good progress, who are making lots of money, more money than you, more progress than you, having better relationships than you. You know these people. So it's not about being the most hardworking David Goggins out there running 100 miles in the night, not sleeping 48 hours. It's not that. And it's not either about any intelligence that you're just born with or you're not. It's not about that. There are many intelligent people who are dead broke, who are bad at communication, for example, who can't, speak to people, who do not have any type of influence. There are many intelligent people like that. The one thing that Napoleon had, and that every successful leader, every successful person who has influenced the world, who has had an impact, and that is the power of words, the power of communication, of public speaking, being able to influence other people, get other people inspired, get other people to engage with you, to create something with you. That was that was his superpower. He was incredibly good with words. When you now look back, there's a quote of him saying that a leader's job is dealing out hope. And he was famous for talking about morale, being able to rally crowds. He had all these speeches, all these bulletins. He wrote a lot of letters as well, just rallying up people just with words. I think it's just fascinating how by you speaking in a certain way, which is 100% something you can develop, you can change the world. Just by you speaking. There are a couple of things though that stand out when I think about Napoleon and how he was so great. There are a few things that you can take away from this video right away and that you can start adopting in your speech. And the first trait of Napoleon, of his communication abilities, was that he was very clear and concise. His orders were famously lightning fast. He kept them very short so people could quickly understand them. And he didn't want to waste anyone's time on giving large orders, because when you're in action, you want things to move quickly. All generals are very quick. They're quick with their speech, with their eating, with their marching. Everything is quick. So his orders were also very clear and very concise. And this is something that takes some practice. It's harder to be concise than to just yap on. And I think school, especially in the Western world, has really forced people to try to come up with a bunch of nonsense, to write a 10-page essay, to have a presentation that is at least 8 minutes long. Longer is better. We are forced by society thinking this way from an early age. But in the business world, in the practical world, the shorter you can make something, the better. So be clear, be concise when you speak. Say less. Because the more you speak, it's the same thing with supply and demand. The more you speak, the more supply there is of your words in a conversation, the less meaning, the less value they have. And being clear is the most important thing. If you want to communicate well, and you think of communication from first principles, what is communication? Well, it's transferring your knowledge, what you're seeing in your head, to someone else. That's it. So if you're speaking with very fancy language, you're using just jargon that is hard to understand. That's the same as speaking to someone and having a wall in between you and the other person. It doesn't go through because most people, this is something you have to understand, most people, their understanding is below a 5th grade reading level or understanding. So most people don't understand this fancy language. So if you speak in a way that makes you sound smart, most people will not understand you. And that is the whole point of communication. So speak in a more simple way. Use more simple language. And your goal should always be to be understood and not seen as very smart. If you're trying to speak with jargon, with fancy language, you're essentially just feeding your ego. That is the only thing you're doing. But if you want to be effective, you want to be a good communicator, you want to be one of the greats, you want to be like Napoleon, you want to do something big with your life, simplicity and clarity is then the key. The second trait that Napoleon had, that is the most clear trait that was different from him and other leaders that were succeeding at the time, was being inspirational. Napoleon said that more battles are lost from the loss of hope than the loss of blood. And that is very true. Most people in today's world speak in a very monotone way. Some people yap on way too long. They talk too much and it doesn't make sense. And even though it might sound exciting and stuff, they are talking too much and their message gets blurry. Other people, on the other hand, they talk too little. They're too shy. They talk with too little volume. And their message really never comes across. But if you want to be like Napoleon, and you don't have to be like him, but you can take some inspiration from the way he spoke. You want to be inspirational. You want to have energy when you speak. You want to speak with passion. Speak with conviction, like you mean it. People will feel your energy. They will feel your authenticity. They will feel that you mean what you say. So speak with some inspiration. And make sure to include, when you speak, wherever you are, include those golden nuggets, those stories of wisdom, those inspirational moments of your life. Include them. Get people rallied up. Make it a goal for you to get people to be inspired from your speeches, from your talks. And that goes into the third trait of Napoleon, and that was his energy and ambition. He radiated certainty. He was so certain, so ambitious about the things he said. He had a crystal clear vision of the future, which he communicated to other people. And people could just They could just feed off his energy. When someone is ambitious and they're speaking about it and they speak like they really mean it. This goes back to the last point. People just get rallied up. People want to engage. People want to join you. This is exactly what Napoleon did. He got people rallied up. He got people to want to pick up the rifle and run towards the enemy, go to war, sacrifice their lives. He was a dealer of hope. The last trait that you can start immediately today as well was relatability. Napoleon, when he led his men, he wasn't trying to be this king that was above all other people. Although that might have been his picture in his head. He was very ambitious. He almost felt like a god, at least at the end. And that was one of the reasons that his downfall came quite early. He got too much into his head. But towards other people, he got on the same level. He lived the same way as his soldiers, as his men. He ate the same things. He did the same work. He was at the ground cleaning mortars. He was at the ground picking up stuff, moving things around. And he was at the front. He was leading from the front. He was doing the same actions that other people. And this is what inspired his men. Because he saw that they have a leader that is actually with them. They have a leader that is risking their lives to win for France. And his mindset was that he wanted to be where the people were. He wanted to be with his men. And people could feel it. People felt inspired by him being so relatable. And how I relate this to my life and how you can take something out of this. Because we are not, or you might be, but I am not at least leading men to war. I'm not really doing that. But start connecting with people. Make sure that when you're in a conversation or you're giving a speech, you listen to the other people. You take some feedback. You use your active listening skills. You match their energy as well. If someone is in a low mood, you don't come in with high energy, trying to hype them up if they clearly don't want to be that way. Because if you have different frequencies, you will not be able to communicate with them. They will just get annoyed. But if the other person is talking with energy, maybe more energy that you would normally have, you match their level, you up your energy, you go on the same frequency as them. So connect with people, tell your stories, be a little bit vulnerable. Tell your stories, be okay with telling your mistakes as well. Connect with people. The final thing I want to touch on is the fact that Napoleon was not scared of being different. He was not scared of being bold, being out there. He was not scared of other people judging him. He was totally himself. And if you truly want to be a master communicator, you don't want to be visible. You have to be okay with putting yourself out there. You have to be extraordinary. That means that you're not mediocre. You don't talk the way other people talk. You don't act the way. You don't have the same energy as other people. You do different things. You have different habits. You have a own unique style of speaking that is different from the rest of the people. So you have to be willing to be out there. Forget all your fears. Be okay being different. It's okay. Some people will hate you. Some people will dislike you. But the more unique, the more different you can be, the more respect you will get from the people who actually like what you're talking about, like your style. And overall, you will be a lot more successful if you're going the different path. Because that's a hell of a short way to not succeed. Going the familiar path. Going the safe path that everyone is on. That is the most sure way you can unsucceed in life. Unsucceed, if that's even a word. I don't think so. But I hope you found this video eye-opening. Hope you found some value from this. Napoleon is a big inspiration for me, and he has taught me so many lessons, but I think his communication style was just something different. It was something we can all learn from, and when we study the greats, we become better ourselves. I wish you an unbelievable rest of your day. Do something different, do something new, challenge yourself, all right? And enjoy. All right, take care. I'll see you in the next one.